Before the video begins, I'd like to give a shout out and thank you to the people on screen for supporting me on Patreon. Enjoy the video.
Hello and welcome to some more Sega GT. This is part 8, and in this part we are going to be finishing off with the Works Cup, because now all we've got left is the SA class, the highest class, which should mean some pretty insane vehicles going around Snowy Mountain Reverse, so one of the smaller tracks out of all of these actually. Kind of interesting they give you the fastest vehicles for it. So, but again, of course, as you know, we'll be going from top to bottom. We won't be doing any qualifying, and all that kind of stuff. So we start off again with STI, which of course will mean an Impreza, and in this case, the 22B. Now, there is something I've actually realized off screen. Now, I actually admittedly forgot to save after the previous part, which means I had to redo all the A-class races again. Whilst I was redoing them, when I got to that MR2, because, you know, the MR2 was such a disastrous handling vehicle, I was thinking to myself, is there actually any way to easily make it handle better? And as it turns out, it's not particularly would normally be considered to be the best fix for it. What I found is that the cars tend to be a little more on the controllable side when the tires are not soft but hard. Yeah, it's kind of weird. The opposite way around. Yeah, it's very strange. I found that to be the most useful way to get the cars at least a little more controllable. And someone did mention that if I put the downforce all the way like to the front and left it at the rear would kind of help with cornering of it, but I personally didn't. Oh, I just accidentally started it with auto. I didn't want to do that. So hang on, just gonna quickly do that to just fix that there. Now I do not believe I'm gonna have to put all the setup thing in. If I just do that, it'll just put it in memory. There we go. But yeah, so when I was redoing it and I was trying out hard tires, I was noticing the MR2 was not like getting the tail as much. It was still really twitchy and kind of somewhat all over the place, but it was a lot more doable. So as a result, I think I might just try using hard tires, because it seems to be working better with some of these vehicles. But anyway, Snowy Mountain Reverse, and we've got, of course, the Subaru Impreza 22B, which, as you obviously would expect, in this game is reminiscent to that of the Subaru WRC livery of the time, specifically 99, because it's got all the stars and whatnot, because 98, I believe, was the last year when they were using the 555. Because after that, 99 was when it just went full logo and started using the stars and whatnot that's on the Subaru logo. So, how does the 22B fare with this hard tire setup? It's really damn smooth. It's pretty much rock solid. It's not sliding out anywhere at all, even as much as once. It's incredibly controllable, very, very nice to drive, and it also helps, you know, that the car is four-wheel drive, so even though I'm having some botches here and there, it's nothing too serious. I mean, I would honestly expect this car would probably still be pretty well, even with soft tires, to be fair. Might actually make it not understeer as much, but I'm not going to particularly worry about that too much, considering that this is a short track, and as you can already see, I've pulled away from the rest of the field. So yeah, 5-lap races for this last Works Cup, but well, as you can kind of see, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, because the length of the laps is short enough to make it basically still less than that of the A-class races. So even with that extra lap, you'll get through these faster than you would the A-class races. Just all down to the length of, just all because of the length of track. But yeah, this does drive fairly nicely. Ooh, kind of a bad angle there, but we're fine. Didn't actually lose as much speed as I thought I was about to there. So yeah, turn in here real quick, and I'll shift down a bit because of the speed. That should help get it a bit further back up. Oh wow, this thing has a lot more pull in fifth gear than I thought. Like way more. This thing really fifth gear, even with all the downforce, it still really pushes up to 160 plus miles an hour. So that's, I guess in most cases I might as well just leave it in fifth. Well, I'm gonna even just let it sit at that for a while. There we go. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure this thing would have better handling with the softer tires, but you know, with this game, stability is like one of those things I really want to keep as much as possible, and it really does seem like that having hard tires really helps with that. Now, again, I don't think the 22B really needs it as much, but hey, any bit help. I guess really to be honest, any bit helps. So. I kind of got a little bit on the loose end there. That's fine. Alrighty, coming out here. And just around the last little bend. Nearly lapped someone, but not quite. So yeah, there we go. 3 minutes 56 seconds. That's almost full minute, nearly. I guess, what is it? It's about a whole 45 seconds faster than the total time it took around the night section A with the A-class vehicles, and that was with one less lap. So really, I could theoretically do another lap to get. So I could do 6 laps of Snowy Mountain to get around that same kind of time. But there we go, $20,000 for winning, and we get the works car, which is of course the 22B Subaru Impreza STI. Very, very nice. Very good vehicle, in fact. So, let's move over to the next one, which is TRD. And since we had a Supra, you might be thinking, if we've had some JGTC vehicles in this, and there's a Supra, could it be a chance that it could be a particular Supra, especially if you keep in mind that this game was, you know, meant to be the Dreamcast counterpart in some ways to Gran Turismo. Well, I'll leave it a bit of a cliffhanger until it appears on screen. The answer to that is yes. It is, in fact, the Castrol Supra, the Castrol Tom Supra. The car, yeah, basically perhaps one of the most iconic JGTC cars, largely thanks to its inclusion as one of the main cover cars of the original Gran Turismo. The car, the thing about the Castrol Tom Supra, it had raced for a number of years during the 90s, but really arguably saw its peak around 96, 97. In 96, it was the best performing Japanese-based manufacturer in the JGTC, finishing second. I think it was second in the standings that year. The only thing it lost to was a little team called Lark, who in '96 decided they were going to enter the JGTC in a McLaren F1 GT-R. Yes, that actually did happen. But I believe Lark didn't kind of pull. I think Lark didn't last after that '96 year, and Castrol Toms did. So '97, the Castrol Tom Supra was really able to, with a new aerodynamic pack design for the Supra, it was really able to kind of stretch its stuff, and that's exactly what it did when it won the championship for the GT500 class in '97. 98 and even 90, I think even 99 for that matter, was won by a car that we will be taking a look at, I believe, just after this one here. So what are my thoughts then on the Castrol Tom Supra? This thing is ridiculously good. Even with like the hard tires, it honestly feels even for being a rear-wheel drive car, it feels just about as smooth as the Subaru is. In fact, it's a little. I think because it's rear-wheel drive, it's not understeering as much, so it definitely has a bit of a handling advantage, and it also helps too that the car has a really good top speed, even with all the downforce applied to it. I'm getting around 175 miles an hour. That was 100. I think I just saw there 177. This thing is fast, very fast. It's definitely one of the strongest contenders so far. And look at that, a 43.1 second run. Look at that, 180 miles an hour. And I didn't get beyond, I believe, 163 at the most with the Impreza. Yeah, the Supra is easily one of the best. Like, if there's any one that you really should go for, if you're not someone who wants to do every single one and you just want one car, there is actually technically another you should get, but that's for a reason that will come later in the LP. But if you're one of those people who's like, I just want to get at least one works car for each class, when it comes to SA class, the Supra should be one of the decisions you go for. It is just it's just, honestly, it's really good. Even with soft tires, which would probably make it a bit more of a handful, it's really fast, and it's just really, really refined. So even if it's a bit more to work with, it just does such a good job regardless that it's just worth using. Oh, okay, we're fine. I'm wondering if I can catch up to some of the field at the end there just before the lap ends. I think I might be able to. Yeah, at least one of them. Yeah, cool. I was able to say I at least lapped someone during this, which is nice. A 3:51, so that was like closer to 50 seconds now. And I tied my best lap time of 44.555 on that final lap. Or wait, no, I did a 43. What am I saying? I tied my second lap. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. What isn't dumb is winning $20,000 and the Castrol Tom Supra. Because that's always good, I would say. But next up we got is Nismo, which is going to be the Skyline GT-R, as you would expect. So again, let's put this car can have the turbo. If memory serves me correctly, the next 3 vehicles don't get turbo. If this was the North American version, which would have Mitsubishi instead of Renault, then the last car would. Which I actually might show that off as like a bonus, maybe part 8.1 or something. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Just to give you guys an idea of how the car drives. I know technically the European version still has the car in the files. I just don't know how to get it over from a North American save, because despite there being a trade vehicles function by save, I believe the works vehicles cannot be traded. So I would have to figure out exactly how to get around that. Oh, what am I doing? I've already gone in here with the Nismo. So exit out of that, and gonna get myself prepared. Something in between my teeth there. I just had to fix. There we go. Yep, it is, of course, perhaps one of the most recognizable. There's like multiple recognizable ones, but there's at least like 3 that really come into mind. But at least with the R34. But it is the Pennzoil Nismo GT-R, and no, the number 1 isn't just there because the team decided on having number 1. The way JGTC/Super GT works is whichever team wins the championship, the following, if they take place during the following year, their car switches to become the number 1. Oh, shit! Having a bit of a pickle there with the Supra. So as a result, because in the '98 season, the Pennzoil Nismo team ran with a R33 Skyline GT-R and ended up winning the championship in '98. And as such, in '99 was when everyone all switched to the R34, because the R34 was the new Skyline at the time. And as such, basically, this is where the number 1 is. And again, because of its inclusion in the likes of Gran Turismo and whatnot, it became a pretty iconic car. And as a result, I think what also helped it, the fact is, as I mentioned before, I believe Pennzoil became a repeat champion. I believe they also won in '99 as well with the R34. They could have gone for the three-peat in 2000, but that was won by another team, which, ironically, if memory serves me correctly, is next. Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of interesting. It all just kind of happens one after the other. And no, I couldn't answer for like the Zanavi Arta Silvia or the Cusco Impreza, because when it came to GT300, the only one I knew off the top of my head was the Momocorsa Apex MR2 for 99. So how is the Skyline? It's fine. It's actually, you know, it's fairly decent. It's pretty speedy and whatnot, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily as fast as the Supra. Okay. Get what the... Now, I'm pretty sure I did put up the extra power in it. Maybe I didn't, but I don't know. Even though it's fast, I would say faster than the Impreza, it's not quite the... It's not far off, but it's not quite the same pace as the Supra is, so... As a result, if having the absolute best really matters to you, you would probably just be... You'd probably just be better off with the Supra still. But, you know, it is what it is. Actually, I did just think of an idea. I don't know if the idea will work, but I will try it out. But I'll get to that when I get to that, so you'll see what I will attempt to do. Just after the second to last car, because I'm curious. I'm just curious to try something out, and that it'll come into play with the whole part 8.1 idea I just had in my mind. Ah. It's getting all kind of stuck to the wall there like that. Okay, oh boy. Alright, and just bringing it around one last time to the finish. Definitely not the best run. I kind of did struggle, I guess, a little bit more in comparison. But still, we still did fairly well with the Skyline, so I don't have any major complaints. So, another $20,000. And I got myself the works Skyline GT-R. Very nice. Which, so that's halfway through, and now next up we're gonna do the Mugen, which would be the NSX. Now this one I wouldn't be surprised if this one might be a bit trickier, because the NSX is a mid-engine car, so it'd be mid-engine rear-wheel drive, and considering that the last one we drove of those was the MR2, and that one was definitely a handful, and this is an NSX that's going to be probably not, maybe even somewhat lighter and more powerful. I got my suspicions that this might be tricky to drive somewhat, but I did in fact put the hard tires on it because of the thing I discovered, so might as well try to combat it as much as I can. Now the Castrol Mugen NSX is the runner for the Honda team in the Works Cup here. If I remember correctly, Castrol Mugen with the NSX, I believe, won the GT500 championship in 2000 with the NSX. Again, I'm trying to just remember this stuff off the top of my head, so I could potentially be wrong, but if memory at least serves me correctly, you know. Actually, well, again, it is on hard tires. It's actually not doing that bad in terms of stability. It's actually pretty good. In fact, if anything, speed-wise, it's not. It's better than the Skyline. It's not far off from the Supra. Oh God, I had just like no angle there. That was just a disaster waiting to happen. But yeah, I would definitely say, like, this thing here, when you put those hard tires on it, yeah, it gets a bit slippery and everything, but it's not actually all too bad. All right, we'll just bring it around one more time. One more time. I still got 3 other laps. What the hell am I talking about? I think I'm losing my mind, man. Losing my mind. Oh god, I'm also losing the angle again. That was even worse. That was just all sorts of ugly. It's a good thing I've built a lead, so it's not entirely the end of the world or nothing, but, you know. I expect the end of the world will be the last car, but we'll get to that. Although it should be interesting to see how I get it on with hard tires, because I usually always just drive it with the soft tires, because that's my mind goes, well, soft tires would mean the most grip. But in this game, it seems like that's proving the opposite. Maybe cars like that Impreza might fare better with it, but cars like the MR2 certainly fared off a lot worse. Okay, that still was not a very good angle coming in, but better than last lap at least. So I'll take it. In fact, what I usually find with a lot of these like really bumpy sections, and this will definitely come in mind with the last car, is when you shift to a high gear when you're going around it, because since you'll never really be going fast enough to really be at the high RPM range for it. Oh god. Because you'll never really be going around and you'll be in that range. I find it usually tends to work better to just be in a high gear and the RPM's low, because the car can't really suddenly get a smash of throttle and suddenly whoop, off you go. It's usually the easiest way to kind of get your car around these sort of areas. I mean, you're still gonna have things like that, but it's a useful thing. We're just off there slightly. But yeah, this car is still a bit of a handful, even with the hard tires. But the speed of at least the speed of the NSX does make up for it. It is quite fast. I would say close to the same pace as the Supra. It's just I would just go with the Supra because the Supra's way easier to drive in this game. Anyways, so there's that. We've got our 20 grand, and the NSX is now ours. So now we come to Mazda Speed. Now, you might have noticed, if you were watching all the licenses, that the Mazda, the RX-7, never showed up in any of those. Because in the extra class it was the AZ1, in the B class it was an MX-5, in the A class it was a more powerful MX-5, and then in the SA class it was the Unos Cosmo, that thing. Mercifully, however, it does seem like that they, instead of deciding, we're just gonna take some random Unos Cosmo race car or build one if it doesn't exist, we'll just do that. That's not what they did with this. This time they did at least decide, there are some GT300 teams that run an RX-7. Why don't we take probably one of the most recognizable of them in? And that's what they did. So yeah, even though Mazda Speed, what we got here is the Amemiya RX-7. So yes, finally, it took till the Works Cup, but we finally got an RX-7. That's how long it took. But hey, there is at least one in the long scheme of things. But there's a catch, of course. Now, handling-wise, I would say this thing is extremely good. Very, very strong handling vehicle. Very, very nice. But it's also a GT300 car, and yeah, it doesn't have as much power as a result, so top end, yeah, you're not looking at something similar to the likes of the Supra or the NSX. It's not far off from the Impreza, at least, but, you know, not quite the same. It's just a good thing, though, at least that the car handles so well, because, you know, that's really what this car makes up for as a result. Alright, just get it around there again. But yeah, at least you can see this, like, because this thing handles so well, I could pull a pretty decent lap. There's a 44.655. Oh, angle's bad. It's fine. No big worry. Again, we'll go with a 6 because helps with stability going up there. Is because, of course, you can see how the suspension's all going, all violently bumping and vibrating around. Because, again, this game thinks that bumps, that all these roads have an insane amount of bumps, which is, you know, just kind of their way of saying they didn't exactly build any kind of inclines or whatnot properly. And I've always heard a lot of people say, like, they tell me, I like this game. The handling was pretty good and everything. Was comparable to Gran Turismo. Having been someone who spent a lot of hours into both Gran Turismo and this game, I can definitely tell you that that is far from the truth. This game does not handle like Gran Turismo, and it really just is not a lot of fun to drive. But nevertheless, at least with a lot of the really powerful vehicles in this game. But nevertheless, I'm still here doing the LP because, hey, I didn't actually realize this until I looked it up. I think I'm the only person to be so far on YouTube to be LPing the original Sega GT. There was a couple people who did like Sega GT 2002 and Sega GT Online, but not the original Sega GT. I'm the first one to try and tackle it. So hey, I guess I can say I sent the benchmark, which means by sending the benchmark, it means there will eventually become a group of people who far out surpass me because, well, let's be real, that's probably exactly what's going to happen. Maybe years down the line from now, who knows. Alright. This doesn't really matter too much right now anyways. Just come around here and we'll come up to a finish. This is going to be a sub 4 minutes. It's 3:59.026 in fact. So yeah, not quite the pace I was setting with the likes of the Supra and whatnot, but still good nonetheless. So, with that, we get another 20,000, and the Amemiya RX-7 is now in our possession. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm not sure if this is gonna work, but I'll try it regardless. I'm going to save the game. I'm going to save the game with where I'm at now, and eventually what I'll do is I'll load into the North American version of the game. And what I'll try and do is go at it and I'll do like part 8.1. I'll show off what the Japanese and North American version looks like, because obviously Renault Sport is not in the game. I'll show off what's different about it. But because this is the European version, which has the most real-life cars and whatnot, which is the reason I'm doing it, this version, we finish off with a Renault Sport Clio trophy. Now, it's a good thing that I just found out for myself that hard tires actually kind of help with handling somewhat. Doesn't entirely help out a lot, but you know. Oh god, I'm already preparing myself mentally, I can tell. Alright. So, you may remember from the last part, if you watched part 7, that I said that after all the disaster I had with the Momo Corsa Apex MR2 and its disastrous handling, that I mentioned that there was a car in the game that handled worse than the MR2. Would you like to know something? You're looking at that car right now. The Clio Trophy is the most unsacred, complete, colossal piece of shit car to drive in this game. It is so bad. It is such a disaster to drive in this game, and it completely boggles my mind that they even considered, when releasing this thing over to Europe, that they were going to replace a four-wheel drive Mitsubishi GTO with this thing. I suspect they did it to probably cater more towards the European players because they makes them recognize the car more. But it handles like shit. It's really bad. Not too bad with speed, mind you, but you have to be super careful. Oh, and especially if you use soft tires, then it's even worse. Like this section here, this thing violently hates all the bumps and all like the twitches and everything. If you're not careful, like if you're not fully concentrating at all, even once, you're going off with this thing. That's how bad this car is to drive in this game. The MR2, it gets close, but the Clio is just unholy levels of bad. See, even there, just there, there's just a little bit of stuff waiting to happen there. A lot of two-wheeling suddenly. It's a good thing that the first 2 laps were mostly incident-free, because, you know, it's helped me to at least build a lead, so I can afford to at least have a minor mistake or somewhere, which nearly happened there, mind you. The one really good thing about this car, though, admittedly, with all the bumps and everything, it actually does have 7 gears, for some reason. So you can put it in a very low rev, which means you can, if you think you're about to go and you need to grab hold of it again and get the control back, you can put it into 7 to try and combat that. So there is that, but it is so unbearable. Just the amount of... Oh, sorry, I just had to check something. It is just so unwielding and so awful to drive. Just... I, for the life of me, would say to people, if you don't care about having, like, extra vehicles like that, like European exclusive vehicles, and you just care about having, like, the game to play, I would say just stick with the North American version in that case. I just show off this version because, again, it has more vehicles. Except for those 4 Carrozzeria bodies that are only exclusive to the Japanese version. Yes, I have a Japanese version of the game, and don't worry, I will show off those cars. Those car bodies, because completion's sake. But yeah, just it is a good thing I discovered the hard tires make it at least a little more manageable. Still really fucking difficult with the Clio. In fact, I think the MR2 actually did turn out to be a lot better with the hard tires, excuse me. But this thing, oh my god, I somehow pulled a 43-second lap out of that. But Jesus Christ, this car is just something. If I were on soft tires, I probably would have spun out at least more than once, and probably would have had to redo this more than once. So it's a good thing I did find out that thing. But nevertheless, we've done it, and the Renault Sport Clio trophy is now in our possession. And this car is important to get in the European version for a very specific reason, which will come up later during the LP. But for now, let's go over the cars that we unlocked. So, of course, we start here with the STI Impreza 22B STI, basically the STI Impreza 22B STI. Seems a bit redundant game, don't you think? 629 horsepower, 484 pound-feet of torque, weighing under 2,000 pounds, just front four-wheel drive. So yeah, pretty light car. Castrol Supra, 622 horsepower, 542 pound-feet of torque, and weighing 2,328 pounds. So it does weigh a bit more, but the car is so good that it doesn't really matter that much. Pennzoil Nismo GT-R 628 horsepower, 556 pound-feet of torque, weighs 2,535 pounds. I think it's that extra weight is why the Supra is a better vehicle to use generally in this game. Castrol Mugen NSX, 537 horsepower, 912 pound. Whoa, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. 537 horsepower, only 325 pound-feet of torque, which is awfully low. 2,288 pounds, and you know, mid-engined. I'm a bit surprised it actually has that few torques and doesn't weigh it as much, and weighs a bit more than even I was expecting. But what can you do, I guess. I also actually just noticed too. There is a minor thing if you'd notice, like these the GT300 cars that they have in this game, they obviously display their number in the logo thing there. The GT300 cars are blue. The GT500 are red. So when you get to the number 7 Amemiya Matsumoto Kiyoshi RX-7, and it goes blue again, that's how you can tell, like, between GT500 and GT300. It's a very nice little touch they did. Yeah, only 391 horsepower, 296 pound-feet of torque, 2,425 pounds for the RX-7. And finally, the Renault Sport Clio Trophy. Oh, God. 500 horsepower, 296 pound-feet of torque. What the hell? 1,955 pounds. It's pretty damn light. It's lighter than the Impreza, but it's also mid-engine. Oh, man. So, there's that, though. But yeah, with that, though, we are now finally done everything in the license, which means we can now move on. Now, I'm not going to quite be doing the Carrozzeria yet. We'll come back to that later on. But, and it's a but, when we come back, I will start to be getting into the races. Now, there's two different kind of little things here. We got an official race, and then we got a bunch of, like, event races. I will probably be doing most of the event races because they're kind of like the little side things more than anything, and it's very similarly structured in a way to Gran Turismo. But yeah, with that, stay tuned for the next proper part where we'll be getting into all the good stuff, so, and with all the main racing. So. Hopefully I'll see you all there. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can be up to date on when I upload the next video. And if you want to help support the channel, click the Patreon link down below in the description. As well in the description, you can follow me on Twitter and even on Twitch. I will see you all on the next one.